This week's parsha we are told to remember a number of things. One of them is to remember that which happened to Miriam on our way from leaving Egypt. Certain individuals say this pasuk every day, as this is an active requirement to remember. But what exactly happened with Miriam? Miriam, after all, was a prophetess, a righteous woman, the older sister of Moshe, and also a sister of Aaron. And she is the one who protected Moshe Rabbeinu. As Moshe was born a boy who was destined to be killed, as he's put in the river, she watches over him and ultimately ensures that he is brought for at least 2 years to his parents' home before he lives and grows up in the palace of Paro. This is a righteous Miriam. But later the Torah tells us at the end of Parashat Ba'alotcha that Miriam spoke about her brother Moshe. She went to Aaron, the other brother, and she said, "Is it just Moshe who's a prophet? We are prophets as well." And Hashem comes to her and him and responds, "Lochein avdi Moshe," realized Moshe Rabbeinu is different than the others, and she is ultimately punished with tzarat, with a spiritual form of leprosy. This is something we're supposed to remember daily. What is the essence of this remembering? The simple understanding is this is to remember the terrible nature of Lashon Hara, speaking evilly about others. Even Miriam, who's, Moshe owed her his life. Nevertheless, she would be held responsible for speaking about Moshe Rabbeinu, even though her motivation was correct. She wanted to better a situation that she thought was problematic. But there was something that Hashem responded, "You don't understand the situation fully," and her speech was not appropriate. This is something we remember every day. No matter what our motivation, no matter how righteous we are, we have to watch what we speak about. However, as Soloveitchik pointed out, that there's another element here as well. And that can be seen from the juxtaposition of this story of Miriam with the story of the spies. Immediately after the Torah describes what happened with Miriam speaking about her brother, it tells us about the Meraglim, the spies who were sent to the land of Israel, who came back testifying that the land of Israel is beautiful, but on the other hand, there are strong nations and the like there. Rashi explains what's the reason for this juxtaposition. He tells us it's because the spies, who were all great men, saw that Miriam had spoken about her brother and was punished, and they did not learn the lesson. Simple understanding is they didn't learn the lesson of Lashon Hara, not speaking badly about people or about things. However, as Soloveitchik pointed out, it's deeper. Because if you look in the Rambam at the end of the laws of Tzarat tells us that Tzarat comes because of evil speech, or because of speech that is inappropriate. And he says this mitzvah in this week's parsha, to remember what happened to Miriam, is a mitzvah to remember that speech doesn't have to be what we would objectively call bad. And he describes that Miriam was somebody who was righteous, her motivation was 100% correct, and Moshe Rabbeinu was not even hurt by her words. Moshe was an extremely humble individual, as the pasuk there says, and therefore he was not hurt, but nevertheless she would be punished for what she spoke about. And he explains because the tongue has a tremendous amount of power. It could be used for the good, could be used for the bad. So where did Miriam go wrong? If her speech was with the proper motivation and in the proper form, she went wrong because not of what she said as much as what she saw. She failed to realize, she made a mistake, says the Rambam, and she compared the nevuah, the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu, to the other prophets. Explains Rav Soloveitchik. This is the nature of what went wrong with Miriam that we're supposed to remember, as well as what went wrong with the spies. Miriam understood that Moshe Rabbeinu was a prophet above the other prophets, but she thought they were still on the same playing field. And therefore, she compared, and she said, did God only speak with Moshe? God speaks to us as well. We're also prophets, and we don't act in the same way of Moshe Rabbeinu. God responds by telling them, no, Lochein avdi Moshe. Realize, it's not just that Moshe Rabbeinu is a higher level prophet than you. Moshe Rabbeinu is on a completely different playing field. I speak to everyone else, God says over there, with a level of prophecy that is nowhere near that of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is Pel Pa Daber Bo. I speak to him with a one-on-one relationship that no other prophet even comes close to. Says Rav Soloveitchik, the failing of Miriam is similar to the failing of the spies. The spies also understood that the land of Israel was a beautiful land, and they recognized it's better than every other land, but they thought it was on the same playing field. And therefore they said as follows, it's the same playing field, so you have to hold off. You have to realize it's not worth it. There are strong armies there, etc. We could go and get a different land. It won't be as good, but it'll be more worth it. Says God, no, you failed to recognize what happened to Miriam. Miriam didn't recognize that Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah is a completely different spiritual plane. The land of Israel is not just a beautiful land. The land of Israel is one which is unparalleled, cannot be compared to others. It is a land where the eyes of God are on at all moments. It's where we can have this pa'adabriko. We can have this deep relationship with God. And therefore the question becomes, is it worth it? Is it worth the challenges of living in the land of Israel? You better believe it. And therefore, what the Torah tells us in this week's parsha, remember that which happened to Miriam. Remember, number one, the importance of proper speech, of not saying bad things, of not saying lashon hara. But realize more than that sometimes we fail to recognize the true, deep beauty and spiritual power of certain places. Sometimes we fail to recognize it with the Torah itself, with the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu, and sometimes we fail to recognize it in the land of Israel. I can tell you now that the land of Israel is a land that's unparalleled. And yes, there might be challenges in order to maintain our hold in the land, but one thing we can recognize without a shadow of a doubt, it is worth every moment of it. Have a Shabbat Shalom.